Well, the friendlies are over and the points are coming in. It was Ipswich 1, Fulham 1 yesterday at Portman Road. We are off and running. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. How many different ways can you sing the word desire?
Desire.
The wonderful editors, of course. Joe, the podcast theme tune. I feel, Mr. Fairs, this is going to be an optimistic one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone came away from yesterday's game infused because firstly, it was just a brilliant game to watch, wasn't it? It was a really end-to-end, just exciting game. The crowd was up for it. They brought a lot of fans down. Their crowd was good. It was just a real positive atmosphere around the town. Nice sunny day. It sort of got warmer as the day went on. It was cold and windy in the morning, but no, just a really, really enjoyable August game of football.
Could have gone much worse, Dave, yesterday. My doomsday scenario was Fulham are 3-0 up in 40 minutes and we realise we're only going to score potentially points against about 3 other teams in the Premier League. Was nothing like that at all, was it, DD?
No, it was really encouraging, especially from perhaps the slight disappointment of the final day transfer window. So a much needed morale boosting, I'd say, performance and yeah, result. 17th, let the season stop right now.
That was going to be one of my lines for later in the show, Dave. And frankly, every time we're above that bottom 3, it's going to be the case. Welcome, everybody, to the Blue Monday podcast. If you are with us live on YouTube, you can react in real time to what Joe and Dave are saying. Get your comments and we'll do some questions later on. If you're listening after the fact and you're an old school audio junkie, we appreciate the hell out of you and big hello. I don't know where you are. You're on Monday or Tuesday in the space-time continuum. Spread your podcasting out because we've just reached the international break as well. Joe, what were your expectations sort of going into yesterday?
Well, I had this worry that we'd obviously played Liverpool first up, Man City second, and everyone was looking at it like, oh, glad we got them out of the way. We've now got Fulham on Saturday as though it was going to be an easy game. And it's like when we played them in the Carabao Cup last year, they were really, really good. And that was their second team. And they've signed like Emile Smith-Rowe this summer. They've improved the squad. They're a really, really good team. And I just worried, I feared that the crowd would be turning up in expectant mood as opposed to sort of, I think most people who were around me in the area I was in were sort of saying we'd be happy with a point. It would just be nice to be off 0 for the international break because winning's not a formality, even though we've won sort of 40 games at Portman Road across the last 2 years. That isn't going to be the same this year. We're not going to win another 20 games this year.
He's totally right, Dave, isn't it? We knew that Liverpool and Man City were miles and miles better than we were, but we don't quite know where to pitch a team like Fulham, who are like a safe mid-table Premier League. It was a difficult one to get your head around, wasn't it?
It was after those first 2 games because, people were saying, right there on those first 2 games of free hit sort of thing, which I can kind of understand that. And look, real ideal time, Fulham, good chance for 3 points. Yeah, I honestly didn't see it like that. They're an established Premier League side. I know you can't really judge by that, but just seeing them come down here last season in the Carabao Cup with pretty much a second string outfit, were really sharp and really, really good and really played us off the park that night. Obviously, totally different team. We put out obviously yesterday from then and them to a degree, but no, it was just the whole overall morale boosting performance of players that I know we'll get onto this that you can now see can make that step up from Championship into the Premier League.
Yeah, I think I know who you're referring to, but we'll get there. Joe, I was looking at my phone. I did a vlog yesterday, and I was trying to go through the team to do a little bit, and realised that it's my first game of the season in the flesh. 6 players I'd never seen. And we'll come on to 5 minutes into the game when I didn't know who a couple of the substitutes were either. But Joe, here is your team. Tell me your thoughts on this. Muric in goal. It was Tuan Zabi, Wolfenden, Greaves and Davis across the back. Morsey, and what the hell have I started here? Because everyone's calling him Calvin effing Phillips. Ogbene wide right, Smodics wide left, wide left. Hutchinson in the 10 behind Liam Delap. 6 players I'd never seen before, Joe.
Yeah, to be fair, it was basically the team I was expecting. The only area I wasn't sure on was in the central midfield position. Who was going to play with Sam Morsey? I thought it would probably go back to Massimo Luongo, but it ended up being Calvin Phillips, which I'm glad it was. I want to see him get some minutes into there. Calvin F. and Phillips. I want to see him get some minutes in there. And I know a lot of people had said they were expecting to see Hutchinson, Smodics, and Clark as the 3 behind the striker. But for me, it was always going to be Ogbene. He's played a couple of games this season. He effectively
scored for Luton, Joe.
He went off at half time on Wednesday, where the other guys got more minutes under their belt. So it was just that Wes Burns role that we miss so much when he's not in the team. I think we just needed someone to recreate that.
Yeah, 100%. Dave, just quickly your thoughts on the 11.
No, totally agree with Joe. I was really glad to see that Wolfenden came in. Obviously, O'Shea played at Wimbledon, but I was really pleased to see Wolfie come in and play. And certainly another player I think we'll get onto after we've done the run through the game. But no, pretty much as Joe said, pretty much as I thought. And I think overall, the balance of the side looked really, really good. Ogbene sort of slipped into that Burns role almost seamlessly, didn't he? Really.
Yeah, Luton fans I've spoken to said you'll really like him. Runner, proper runner, and that would describe Wes Burns down to a T. Joe, David Diamond and I had a conversation at halftime. It was illuminating speaking to David Diamond, and the pearl of
guarantee
wisdom,
I know what it will be about. Emile Smith-Rowe strolling about the pitch.
There was a
rolled down to his ankles.
There was a bit of that. If Emile Smith-Rowe was left-footed, he'd be David Diamond's favourite player of all time. But no, Joe, it was more to the effect of that this mid-table type Premier League team, all the players are either really, really good technically or just physically just incredible. And that kind of describes the entire 11 here. Leno in goal. More from him later on. He was excellent, wasn't he? Especially at the end there. Tete, Diop, Bassi, Robinson, Lukic, Pereira, Traore, Smith-Rowe, Iwobi, and Muniz. Joe.
Yeah, the absolute size of this team was just not something we're used to seeing, is it?
They can play.
I remember going up against Shrewsbury a few years ago, and they had a back three, and it was like Ethan Ebanks, Landell, and a couple of others. Omar Beckles. No, and they looked like a sort of front three of an NFL team, and they were all absolutely massive. And these guys looked the same, but they could all run, were strong, could play football as well. So it's like you're up against these absolute giants in there. Like there's a couple of times Calvin Bassi sort of ran through, and people just bouncing off him. They're all so strong that when they lose the ball, they just fly into you, don't they?
He's got lovely left foot as well, hasn't he? Great left foot. Real pinger on him, but my God.
And I think when you see this physicality level, I know some people maybe think we've signed a couple too many players, but I think when you see the step up in physicality, you see why we've needed to sign these 12 players that we have done this window just to level the squad up. And like I say, 6 new starters yesterday in the squad. This team's only going to get better from where we are now, isn't it? As people see those runs Ogbene's making all game.
And Dave, you can see why players with good size who are decent in the Championship just get swamped up into the Premier League, can't you?
They just get blown away, absolutely blown away. I mean, Adama Traore, again, we'll perhaps get onto him second half. He was closer to my side second half. He just looked like he'd run over players, didn't he? His physique and stuff. He's so quick, not beat them, just run through them, for goodness sake. So, as Joe quite rightly said, it was just like land of the giants. And they can play. Technically, they're very, very good. So, that's a mid look. And I expect them to finish comfortably mid-table, I would have thought. And there's your mid-table for you. So, when you're playing the likes of the far more perhaps more technical teams like the Man Cities, the Liverpools, Arsenals, it's just a whole world apart, isn't it?
And for regular watchers of my channel, I need to say, look at the size of that man, as I once got caught out on camera saying about Adama Traore.
Well,
I've got to say,
Alan Lee was in there yesterday, and he said the
Alan
size
Lee's
of his
bloody unit
biceps
as well.
He said I was sort of watching the game, but I just couldn't stop staring at
I
around
honestly,
his arms. I
I've
was
got to
getting
say,
lost in it.
second half, I just couldn't take my eyes. This is not so in any way. I couldn't take my eyes off his thighs, for God's sake. Him and Roberto Carlos must be up there for thigh width, surely.
Oh,
But
between
Joe,
you and Alan Lee, you had his whole body covered then.
Yeah, wowzers. Christ
But Joe, the most flamboyant, wonderful show of physicality came from one Liam Delap, 15 minutes. And this was just what we needed, didn't we? I mean, it was a good atmosphere in there anyway. It was kind of it was hardly like we banged the door down and deserved to take the lead on 15, but it was a decent, lively start. And what a goal.
Yeah, and a few minutes before that, we'd put a long ball up to Delap, and he'd sort of won that header really, really easily. And it knocked the ball down to Amari Hutchison, who didn't really get a good enough shot away. But that made them sit back a little bit further, because they knew that, yeah, we'll try and play through them, but we can bang it long, and Delap will cause you problems. But this is just Leif Davis picking the ball up, driving up the pitch, rolling the ball into Delap, and it does just open up for him, and he sort of takes it sort of past the goal, and then just sort of swivels and hits it back over the keeper the other way. And
yes, a rubbish touch before he hits that, Joe, doesn't he?
It does look like it on the video that the club put out last night of it there. But generally, when people are going that far, they never get their foot round it enough to put it back into the corner. They tend to end up hitting it in the middle of the goal. But I was obviously right behind that, and you could see that sort of drifting over the keeper. And I know Leno does get a good hand to it, and you might think he should keep it out, but he's really sort of going the wrong way for where he's expecting it to be. And yeah, it's just a brilliant goal, and I think a goal fitting of the start that Liam Delap's made in an Ipswich Town show. So I think he's been brilliant for us.
David?
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And ironically, I think the final, if we say it was a heavy touch, kind of as Joe said, just kind of opens up the angle brilliantly. And it's really the only place he can really put it, can't he? It's such great technique. But I tell you what, the pace of Davis there, the pace when he makes that interception, man, he's blinding pace. And it's Davis being Davis, such an intelligent player, just sees the run of Delap off his shoulder, coming off his man, and has got the ability just to put his foot on the ball, just little ball inside, and it's brilliant. And Joe's quite right. Delap's been absolutely sensational since he's been here. I mean, and okay, for reported 15, is it plus add-ons? Looks a good deal, doesn't it? Looks a good deal so far.
Stay with you, Dave, because we did well immediately after the goal, kept the impetus on. And I mean, it's not like I can sit here and go, oh, we should have pushed, we should have gone 2 up before Fulham really took over for 10, 15 minutes to get their equaliser. But it was really encouraging after the goal as well for 5-6 minutes, wasn't it?
It really was, and could have gone 2 up. I mean, Delap, your pal Sam Parkin was on the Sky Sport on the Sky Sports, said, and probably quite rightly. I think perhaps when the corner came in, it's a bit unsighted maybe by Wolfenden, perhaps. So he gets a pretty good connection, and he probably should have got that on target. That goes on target where he is. That's probably in for 2-0. But yeah, unfortunately, couldn't get that on target. Yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, I thought I'd say control of the game, but it's one of those games where you go 1 up. Yeah, let's get the ball back. Let's get some possession back. Unlike last week, let's settle on 1-0, but let's just start settling down, settle the match down, and we go again. And I think we just about had until the 32nd minute, was it?
Yeah, and Joe, what I'm finding is, and look, I've seen other Premier League games in recent years, but this is the first one I've seen this season. And we saw this from the other parachute teams in the Fab Four last year. But when these Premier League teams do get impetus, you don't see the ball for 5-10 minutes, do you? And it was excellent from Fulham leading up to the equaliser, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just getting from the right side of the pitch to the left side of the pitch, getting in, getting across in, picking up the second ball, just switching it across back and forth, and just moving the ball really, really quickly, and just knocking us off our spot, really. We couldn't get ourselves set to try and press to win the ball back. And every time you sort of won it back, you're only half winning it back, and you're just sort of delaying rather than destroying an attack from them. And yeah, it just went back and forth, and it was a long sort of 10 minutes in the build up to their goal. It did really feel like it was coming, didn't it?
Joe, I did a classic David Diamond as well. That ball went down the left. I went, stop the cross. You know what happened 3 seconds later. Take me through this goal.
It was a good goal. Sorry, me, Joe.
No, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good goal, wasn't it? As Joe said, I think it was Bassi who switches like a 30-yard crossfield ball to the right back, Tete, who I thought was a decent player as well. Very, very good. Little interchange in midfield. And for once, it was the first time really in the first half, I think, that Smith Rowe found that little pocket. He just found that sort of little pocket on his own, was able to turn, get his foot on the ball. Simple little pass out wide to Iwobi and brilliant overlap from Robinson. As soon as Iwobi gets the ball, Robinson's gone. Robinson's bombing down. Lovely weighted ball from Iwobi, and you've got to say that. And Sam Parkins said on his summary, brilliant cross. Absolutely drove the cross.
He could have blocked that cross, Dave. So I'm sorry, he could have, couldn't he?
He hit it early.
Maybe we disagree, but
you knew it was coming. Twanzabi, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what just makes a better attempt. Slides. Just makes a better attempt.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair. Put it to the chat.
I think you've got to look at the balls. It's a lovely weighted ball from Iwobi in the first place. Robinson doesn't think takes a touch, does he? Sorry, he might have. I don't know, but he whips it in. It takes out both Wolf and Greaves as well. The ball just goes flying across the 6-yard box. I feel a bit for Davis because again, is he a bit static? Has he lost Traore? Then I mean, Traore's still got a lot to do. It's a hell of a finish, sort of right foot, all the paces on the ball, right foot, side foot from about 10 yards. And yeah, I mean, Muric hasn't got a problem. Should we be critical of Davis there? Is he a bit static? Is he not aware?
He doesn't know where he is. Does he?
Doesn't know where he is.
He doesn't look back.
He doesn't. Again, similar perhaps. He's critical as he was against Liverpool, perhaps a bit of ball watching there again. But it's so difficult. It happens at such pace, doesn't it? It really is. And I think props to them. I think it's a really well worked goal. And like I said, the first time in the first half, really, that maybe a couple of times the second half, the Smith Rowe had that little bit of space to operate in. But Joe's probably right. Like I said, I think we did settle down after we scored, but for like 5-10 minutes, but in that 10-minute spell. Was it coming? They were probing, weren't they? I think it's a good word. Yeah.
Joe, I think you've already made the key point here is that we can take pick the goal apart until we're blue in the face here. But like you said, we've been moved around for the previous 5-6 minutes. It's not the goal on its own that's unsettled our backline. It's like you say, being moved right to left, narrow, and sort of. Don't get me wrong, Smodics and Ogbene were brilliant, but they were virtually playing defensive central midfield for 5 minutes because they'd moved us about so much.
Yeah, and it is that when you're under such a spell of sustained pressure, you make a couple of tiny little errors. And like I said in the chat, like Ogbene, he does get caught ball watching at one point, and it just goes round him. Then Robinson's gone, and he can't stay with him. And then Davis at the back post doesn't know where Traore is, and then the ball's in the back of the net. So it's all just minor stuff, which we know will be improved on as the season goes on, as people learn more about the pace, learning from the mistakes there. But it is just, it doesn't take many sort of small errors of judgment to be totally cut open when teams are flying at you like they are. And once they get past you, like Robinson is so fast. Once Ogbene hasn't tracked that and he's switched off, there's no catching him. He's gone. And in the same way, at the other end, if Ogbene gets the run on Robinson, he's not going to catch him either. So it is just those little minor things. So I think like every goal is a learning thing for the coaches. I'm sure that they'll be looking back, picking it apart like we are here. But I don't think it's one where you look and say, wow, he is just like last week, maybe where you saw Davis with a penalty, Muric with a second goal, and they are just clear individual errors. These are just those small errors of judgment, little lapses, and the ball's in the back of the net.
Stay with you, Joe. I thought they did well to keep composed and get to half-time 1-1. I thought Muniz should have scored that header from sort of 7 or 8 yards out. I know it was a bit of a floaty cross, but I thought they gathered themselves well. And this is what we're going to need to see, isn't it? Because we talked about buckling and conceding goals in spades. Let's hope that's just the top teams that are able to do that to us. And I thought they went in at half-time, bit of credit in the bank for, getting that back together.
Yeah, and it was, like I say, after their goal, they still had that momentum, and we managed to sort of slow the game down, get our foot on the ball, move it about more. And I think at this stage, Calvin Phillips had come into the game a little bit more. He was landing on it a few more times, pinging a couple of nice crossfield balls, which were giving us a bit of momentum, sort of turning them round. And like I say, the Premier League, it's just such a different style of football. It's all just such high risk football. You've got to be baiting your man in to play the ball. And like I say, when you see a goal kick, you've got 3 there for the short one. The 2 wingers are so far up the pitch. And sometimes when you watch Championship football and League One especially, the pitch is really, really condensed. Here, the whole team is stretched out across both sides of the pitch. Gone are the days when there's a goal kick and everyone just wanders over to the left-hand side and stands in a sort of square that you could chuck a sheet over. It's just so difficult. There's issues everywhere, and we managed to do what we needed to do to get back into that game, to get maybe even slightly on top in a couple of minutes before half-time, and then get into half-time 1-1 and start again from that point.
Dave, do you agree with... I think we were both sort of saying, oh, okay, take a point at half-time, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, absolutely. I think we did. I think we did settle down after the goal, as you said. Mooney's, decent chance that I think he just got under the header. Really should have. It was a really good cross. I thought he should have done better with that. But apart from that, I thought we saw it out pretty well. I think as the half went on, Phillips seemed to be landing on those second balls a little bit more. So we seem to be getting a little bit more control there. And but as you said, it's good to, after conceding like that, it was good to get to half time at 1-1.
Nice 15-minute stoppage for the boys at half-time. And we are brought to you today, in part, in association with One Stop Badges. If you're watching on YouTube, just below David down there. He'll try and point now and go the wrong way, which always amuses me every week. Yep, there he goes. And you don't get these joys on audio of David not being able to point to the sponsors. But you get 10% off at One Stop Badges via the promo in the description. Dave, it feels like that I'm a narrative junkie. Maybe I am a little bit, and I've set up the second half. This is great. This is really, I'm so pleased with how we attack the second half. So pleased.
Absolutely brilliant. Just on the front foot, right from the off, when it pinned them back, pretty much right from the kickoff, really. Like I said, and I think really, this is where Morsey and I thought Phillips second half really came into their own there. They really got control, got to grips in the midfield. And, I think that just, I don't think we perhaps threatened that much, but it was just the control I think we had of the game, and most of the game had been played certainly in and around their box, but certainly in their half. And it just gave the crowd a lift, and you could see it, the momentum building. Just so encouraging, absolutely so encouraging. And like I said, they, halfway through that second half, I was talking to my lad, and I said, 2 or 3 of these players, you can see they're just going to make this step up fairly seamlessly. I know it's only one game, but if that's, like I said, Fulham, I think they're going to be a comfortable mid-table side. They're going to more than hold their own. And I just thought it was absolutely superb second half. And I cannot believe, so on the BBC overall said it was a scrappy game. I mean, bloody hell, they've seen some football then, haven't they? My God, if that was a scrappy game, it's a great game. I thought, really great game.
They just watched Barcelona 2009 on repeat, maybe then, don't
they?
That's
well.
Joe, let's try and flip it the other way then, because I think there is a bit of a lesson that you have to score between 45 and 60. When I know we're coming in and we're finding our level, and I'm the one saying, okay, we know Liverpool are there, we know we're here, we're a Fulham, and we're testing ourselves and we're growing. We're going to have to win 10 games this season. We've all said that. And I think us winning the game yesterday, despite the fact I'm really so impressed with the 45 to 60, I think the maturity, the next level up is you get the goal, don't you?
Yeah, and I imagine when you look at the squad and the new faces, the subs coming on, this is where we will need to improve, and we will improve in time. So when at the start of the pod I said we will get better as the season goes on, when you look at how many new faces were in that front four yesterday, and the balls into them, the fullbacks, you need those time on the grass together, time in game together. That, like Ogbene 2 or 3 times makes a run in behind and people don't quite find him. One time it's Smodix coming across, and he's probably not used to playing with Wes Burns, and that Ogbene or Wes Burns, whoever's playing, is going to sit on that left back shoulder, and when there's a chance to run, it's going to be timing his run to get in behind it. And as Connor Chaplin's done brilliantly for Wes Burns over the last 2 seasons, you just play that ball early and he's going to get there. And it's just little bits like that where we will need to improve, and I'm sure we will improve.
Let's stay with you, Joe, because on 71, Jens Kajust comes in. Calvin Effin Phillips goes out. And I think, and Look, I'm very biased here, having covered him so much over the years, but I was a little bit confused at the suspicion. I was kind of like, are you aware his level in the past compared to Ipswich Town's level in the past, and we're coming together this season? But hopefully, some of the people who maybe didn't quite understand the caliber of this player saw a few little bits, particularly 45 to 60 as well.
Well, I think everyone knows he's been a brilliant player in his, well, not in his day, but probably before the Man City move. And it's like he was playing for England in the Euros that summer before there, all the way through to the final, and was probably our best player, or one of our best players in that tournament across that year. Even like last season, he was playing away against Italy and being a really good part of a midfield that did well there. So we know we all know he's got the talent, but he at Man City he almost became a bit of a joke figure, and Pep came out and said he was overweight. And I think that was a really unhelpful comment, and that sort of followed him around. Even yesterday, the Fulham fans were shouting at him about it, and I think that sort of set a narrative for him. And he went to West Ham, and that was a really poor move to go to West Ham. David Moyes' football, like he's a very successful manager, the same way Mick McCarthy is here. But the midfielders are there to get themselves into shape, shunt around the pitch, where he's a bit more all action, likes to get involved, likes to get on the ball, likes to do more with it, which he didn't really have the opportunity to do. And I think the most encouraging thing for Ipswich fans, putting aside the performance, which got a lot better, the second half was really good, is when he goes off the pitch and he's standing there giving it the big into the crowd, trying to get the crowd whipped up. But when you saw him 4 months ago in a West Ham shirt, 5 months ago, he looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, just sort of slouching around, slumping, looked like he's just did wanted to be anywhere else but on that pitch. And he now looks a totally different person. He was out with the foundation on, I think, Thursday or Friday with Leif Davis. He was out, like I went with my boys after the game to get the players' autographs and had a little chat with him, and he's chatting to everyone, and he looks just like he's totally refreshed. He looks like he wants to be here. He's enjoying his football. And if that's what he's going to be like this season, his performances are only going to get better and better. And they're already starting from a high base.
Big thank you live on YouTube here to David in the chat there. €20 on the super chat. Thank you so much. This show will always be free, but you can support via super chat like David just has, or you can join our wonderful Telegram group where you get the first 2 weeks for free. Come and join the debate, and a huge thank you to David there. Let's just mention a few more subs, Dave, as this plays out. In comes Jack Clark, and I think I taught all the people around me immediately. Drive inside and shoot with your right foot, Jack. Go, just do it every time. No, everyone knows what you're going to do. Just keep doing it. But also, was there a little part of you when Ali Al-Hamadi came on, as much as we love Ali, that thought, is this totally fair on him? You know, and the first thing that Diop did is just went and roasted him and roughed him up and tried to eat him for breakfast, didn't he, as well? But just talk to me about that double sub as well there, Dave.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't want anyone to take that wrong, what I've just said about Al-Hamadi, but this is where he would have been loaned out if a striker would have come.
No, absolutely right, and there's shouldn't be any deference against him. I thought he came on and did pretty well, really, against two, as you said, two units, especially Diop. Yeah, I mean, a word on Jack Clark. We know what he's about, and he'll be disappointed he didn't hit the target there in that one opportunity he got to come off the left, which he did, and he's got his head down, and he's dropping his shoulder, gets his head down, and he'll be disappointed he didn't at least wrap his foot around that and get that on target. I think perhaps a ball was a little bit in front of him. In props to him, but you know what he's about. Just lovely to see a player like him come on. And Al-Hamadi, look, if we had got a striker, I think it's no secret he would have gone somewhere on loan, but it needs must now. So he's going to be certainly a feature, and probably will be coming on at some point in pretty much every game now until at least I think George Hurst is certainly back and fully fighting fit. Seen one or two really positive comments here about Kayust, who I thought looked really good. A couple of times there again in midfield, he's strong, turned his man and drove away from his man. Yeah, love to see that. He looks a player. It's just the second half, which is so encouraging, really.
And Joe, I almost wanted, just for all of those idiots that weren't able to praise our team last year and talked about late goals and deflections, Amari Hutchinson comes in. I'm just urging him to hit it and that take a deflection and fly in the other corner just to wind everybody up. But despite, this could have got away from us at times, could have won the game at the end, Joe.
Yeah, we certainly would have tried finishing the game stronger, weren't we? I think they had a couple of little breakaways, but sort of got a couple of shots away, but straight at Muric and the goal who sort of kept them out well. But yeah, that Amari one, we've seen that before, haven't we? The ball dropped him in that position against Rotherham, against West Brom, very late in games, and the ball find the back of the net. But this time he just hits it too close to the keeper. But it's, like I say, him getting the ball in the box on his left foot with an open shot. If teams allow that to happen, the ball's going to find the net more often than it doesn't.
I thought that was a really good save. A really good save. He gets down so quickly because he hits that well. He hits that sweet. Funny enough, I saw Colin in the chat. Saw Colin after the game, and he was kind of saying, "Oh, Mari, should put that in the far corner, top corner." Well, I perhaps slightly agree. You've seen him do it. We saw him do it at Hull. We know he's got that in his locker. But first and foremost, you get your head down and get that shot on target. And I thought that was a really, really good save from Leno there.
We'll come back to you for your summings up. Get them in the chat as well. After a word from our friends at Atwell's Solicitors.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell's Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
So, Joe, I'm really pleased, and it ticked off the things I wanted. I wanted a goal, and I wanted a point, and I wanted us to be competitive against the mid-table team. I saw all of that. So on the one hand, I'm really happy. On the other hand, if people are, kind of pointing fun and, but negative fans maybe from other teams, this has to be built on, doesn't it? It can't be, we drew a home game against a mid-table team. You've mentioned it as well. To get to 35 points, you need the 10 wins. You are going to have to, you can't score 2 points per game against the bottom 6 or 7 and lose to everyone else. You are going to have to beat these teams. So can you just balance up those two kind of schools of thought, Joe?
Well, we're still a new team, and one of the big differences between the Championship and the Premier League at the moment is that Premier League teams tweak their teams every season. All their players are on 4 or 5 year contracts. They lose a couple, they gain a couple. Here, we've had to bring in a whole new squad, effectively 12 new players. A whole new team has come in, and Kieran McKenna's got to find a way of using what we already had in the building and what's been brought into it, mixing those up, working out which players are able to step up, what partnership's going to form. And we the last 2 seasons we've finished them sort of second half of the season. We've sort of been like trains effectively through the second half of the season. So this is a team that gets better as the season wears on, as we get more and more familiar with each other's patterns. The new signings have worked their way into the team. So I'd almost be certain that we're going to accumulate more points in the second half of the season than we will in the first half of the season this year. So it's just getting the points where we can over the next probably month or so. And then from that point on, not the season starts now, because the season started in August. We're 3 games into it. So it's just making sure that all these encouraging signs keep working. We get George Hurst back, we get Wes Burns back. So we've got the options to do what we want to do, where we want to do it. But like I say, you look at it, I thought the players who were here last year, Axel Tuanzebe, I thought was excellent yesterday. I thought Luke Wolfenden was excellent yesterday. Leif Davis, again, going forwards on the ball, really good defensively.
What a weapon, Joe.
Yeah, and you're just going to have to accept that his defensively, there are going to be some issues there, but he is definitely a big net positive in there. Sam Morsey looks like he's been playing Premier League football for 10 years, not his first 3 games there.
And look who he gets to work with in centre midfield now as well. That's only going to improve him, isn't it?
Amari Hutchinson has stepped up. Liam Delap has not played many Premier League games. He's stepping up. Sammy Smodics will set the tone from the front all game. He's an S-house,
isn't he, Smodics?
Yeah, and it's just... But I mean, it's just so good that the 5 players who have been with us from League One look every inch Premier League players at the moment already, and they're going to need to ensure they keep their place in the team. So we're looking in a really, really good place now. And in the first game, we started brilliantly against Liverpool, had a good half, and then the second half we just sort of ran out of puff, got outmaneuvered a little bit, maybe tactically combined with that. Second game, Man City is just Man City, but this game, we were the side that came out strong in the second half. We were the side that kept those physical levels up through the whole second half. They were the team having to take off Smith Rowe to drop in a more defensive option to try and deal with us in the second half. So yeah, it's a point. It's a good point. We're off that zero, which we didn't want to be through, but there's a lot of positives in there. And I think when you compare that to the Liverpool performance, I know it's a different caliber of opposition, but the things that went wrong for us against Liverpool, they've already been dealt with here. And so the squad will be getting fitter. And yeah, we might not have that supreme physicality, but we've got that aggressiveness, pace, willing to put our bodies on the line all game. And yeah, you can, like I say, you can only walk away from that one infused by it all.
Where's your head at with these things, Dave? Because we don't want to be naive and get overexcited about 0.33 points per game and no wins yet. But best case scenario, there was a lot to be happy about.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely superb yesterday. Sam Morsey, he still might be the best player at the club. I still think he is. He was outstanding yesterday. Second half yesterday, absolutely outstanding. And, you know, he's the only black spot there. Obviously picked up his second booking, perhaps a little bit harsh, I thought, yesterday. Ref was perhaps a little bit inconsistent, I thought, first half. Overall, I think he did okay. But yeah, so much encouragement. And as Joe said, you know, like so Wolfenden stepped up yesterday. Him and Greaves looked a really good pair. Greaves looks to be very, very, very good signing to me. Twanzebe, I think, did very well at right back as well. So just
perfect in terms of physicality to have using that game as well to Twanzebe.
Yeah, and Hutchison again. You know, Hutchison second half just steps up and he just looked the Premier League player. So, like I said, you know, right at the start, after the sort of slight disappointment of what didn't happen Friday morning, it was such a morale boosting, result, a point, and more importantly, a morale boosting performance to take that on.
Okay, made me chuckle, Joe. You know, the amount of crap I've been getting from people on Twitter saying, "Oh, you're just signing up the best players from the Championship," and then I see Fulham using Sander Berge and Harry Wilson off the bench, and I'm like, you need as many good players as you can possibly get wherever you can get them from, right?
Mate, that's the first time I've seen him in the flesh. Talk about units. What a unit Sander Berge is.
Oh,
holy crap! He's huge.
Joe, he's very smooth on the ball as well, isn't he? For a big bloke.
Yeah, he was linked with Man United quite heavily, wasn't he? And yeah, looks a really good player, has been for Sheffield United and Burnley in the past. But yeah, and what other options do we have other than sign the best Championship players? Yeah. I know you've obviously got the option of bringing players in from abroad, but I think you need to be a little bit more settled as a squad before you can do that, because it is just players coming in from abroad are going to take a good 6 to 9 months to get up to the speed of the English game. And I know it's that a little bit cliche, and some will come in and hit the ground running. But if we were to bring in 5 or 6 players that never played in the English leagues before, I don't think anyone would feel very comfortable with it. And like where Brentford have done it, where Brighton have done it, they've done it onto a base of really solid EFL players and now on Premier League players. We haven't been in that position. We've moved so quickly that we need to get sort of best in class in. And when you look at the Championship last year, and I think obviously 3 of the best players in the league, or 4, I'd say Amari Hutchinson, Jacob Greaves, Sammy Smodics, and Jack Clark were 4 of the best players in that league last year. And then for me, the ones you paid proper money for, as in Hutchinson, Delap and Greaves, who we've seen a lot of, they look 3 that are going to be Premier League players from now until forever, effectively till the end of their careers. That they're not going to be going back to the Championship. They are Premier League footballers.
Brilliant. And speaking of Premier League footballers, let's go to the roundup of round 3 in the Premier League in association with Innovation Labs. Okay. All the people that have said stop the clocks, Ipswich they were 16th yesterday. Palace have scored a point today, but let's rumble through these and you can each pick out a result, you two. It was Arsenal 1, Brighton 1. We'll be talking more about Brighton next week. Brentford 3, Southampton 1. There's perhaps one team there that we have in our sights and one that's already got 6 points, which is slightly concerning. We may have thought we might have been able to reel in. Everton 2, Bournemouth 3. I can't explain that. Leicester 1, Villa 2. So again, Southampton, Leicester, both. David likes that, doesn't he? But Aston Villa, end of the month, Champions League Aston Villa. Although we had it pointed out in our Telegram group, a pretty tasty looking Champions League game. Immediately before they come to Portman Road, Nottingham Forest 1, Wolves 1, West Ham 1, Manchester City 3, Chelsea 1, Palace 1, Newcastle 2, Spurs 1. This is all irrelevant, this stuff at the bottom down here, isn't it, Joe? Man United 0, Liverpool 3. Who cares? Joe, what do you want to pick out there? Talk to me about Brentford, maybe, because they're better than I thought they were going to be, which is annoying.
Yeah, you did think that maybe they didn't stay up that easily last year. They've obviously had all this Ivan Toney business going on, but they do seem to have started the season pretty well. I think they've beaten Crystal Palace so far and now Southampton. But to look at Southampton, it's their third game in a row where they've had over 60% possession, but they do not create anything. They just get stuck with the ball in the middle third. When they do break the press into the middle, they just turn it back and play themselves back into trouble. Any team with a well-executed press is going to kill them this year. And Brentford did that yesterday. Russell Martin, I know he's your friend, Ben, but he's all
right. Luke Chambers' best mate.
I just
football
don't
football friends.
I just don't see his style working in the Premier League when they haven't got. And his style, I find it the most dull football to watch ever.
We know what you think of his style.
No, there is a but. But at Southampton last year, towards the end of the season, they were playing some really good stuff. And I thought when they came down to Portman Road, they were excellent.
Get in the box.
But you need a talent discrepancy to be playing this style. And if you haven't got the best players in the league, you're not gonna have success. And Southampton do not have the best players in the league, and they are going to get, like Burnley were last year, they're just going to get murdered.
Yeah.
Dave, do you want to pick up on any? I mean, let me pose this to you as a question. I had Everton being nowhere near us. I thought they would be a good number of points ahead of us, but they are rubbish.
They are stinking the joint out at the moment. And I mean, they're just a narrative of yesterday. I mean, I watched the highlights on Match of the Day. I think I might watch the half-hour Sky more than, the half-hour show. And, I mean, 2-0, just seemingly well in control, and missing chances to go, I think, 3 or even 4, and then concede 1. And, well, that's it. They just go to pot. I think pretty much all of them, or certainly 2 were crosses into the box, just didn't deal with. And even I think it got to 2-2, and Pickford made 2 or 3 saves even before they got the last goal. And this was, I think, they were 2-0 up on 87. Well, they went 87, 89, 95 or something like something
96, I think.
It's ridiculous, absolutely crazy. So it's just the narrative of that one is a proper, and and also going into the international break as well is a proper kick in the nuts. I mean, the other thing. I mean, do we dare say Haaland? I mean, another masterclass yesterday. And as someone pointed out, is it any coincidence that he wasn't away at the Euros? We had a completely clear summer. He's come back, and it's just class, absolutely class finishing. But that Everton that's a shocker.
They're not getting fewer than 35 points, Joe, are they, Everton?
Well, I don't see how they're going to get anywhere near to that at the moment. They look,
I
know they played well yesterday, but when you think what they meant, that mentality to be 2-0 up at 87 minutes, and then you could have lost the game 5-2 after that. They just
easily
let in a goal and just absolutely shat the bed at that point. And with Sean, obviously Sean Dyche, we know is a good manager, but when it turns and you're a team like that, it's going to be really difficult to get it back. It almost reminds me a little bit of Birmingham last year, who they've circled that drain for years and years and years.
That's a great comparison, Joe.
Finally get a good owner in, and then all of a sudden they drop through the trapdoor. And I wonder, Everton getting a new stadium next year, are they going to drop through the trapdoor this year?
Absolute disaster. It's a shame. So I do like the Sandy ball bag, don't we, Ben? We love him, don't we?
I can't see it, but I'm here for it if it's going to happen. We need as many. I need a bottom 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need as many people under 38, under 1 point per game, basically, as we possibly can get. Right. Guys, get your questions in via the comments. I'll put them to the boys, and we'll I mean, let us know in the chat. Do you want us to do a bit of a State of the Union on the first 3 games, or would you rather we talked a little bit about the next 3 games? Maybe we can do both, and maybe you can incorporate that into the questions. That was the Premier League roundup with Innovation Labs. And just one more, please indulge us really quickly. Our friends at Glory Days Artwork, promotion there at the moment. Some brilliant stuff, some Ipswich Town themed artwork. Blue Monday subscribers get 10% off with promo BM10. That's BM10. Head over to Glory Days Artwork on the interweb. Sorry, I'm trying to do the questions at the same time. I always want to start with Norman's one, Joe, because it's always a good one. There it is. I'm going to say yes before I've even read that to you, Joe. Do you see us trying to sign a number 9 in the January window?
Yes, as we have done the last 2. It's almost felt the last 2 seasons we've left ourselves one short by not getting one over the line in August, and then we've gone in January and brought in a really good one. It was George Hurst in the League One season, Kiefer Moore in the Championship season. So who is going to be the guy that gets us over the line this year?
There you go. David, can I just take this one, Dave, quickly? I've just got one thing to say on this. Is there any news on a points deduction? David's talking about Leicester, obviously. If the Premier League or anything like the EFL, which I know a lot about, they do give them in international breaks. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute it will be in this international break, but you could imagine the October one too early, October the 7th to the 18th.
Yeah, it is too early. It'll be
When's
after
the
Christmas.
November one?
It'll be the March one, I'd imagine.
Nah, Joe, I reckon there's a chance, given what they know already.
October.
No, November 9th to 23rd. Potentially, I think they could have that, given that all the information's a couple of years old, Joe. But you may well be. Premier League might be busy in November, from what we're understanding, with 115 Manchester City charges as well. Right, questions. Streaky. Whose go is it? David Diamond. No future. Clark, Broadhead, Luongo. Potentially sad times. Thanks for the memories. People keep telling me off for being sentimental. I love all those 3, but what's the future there, Dave?
They're going to be squad players, you'd think. Yeah, they're going to be squad players for now, you'd think. I mean, Broadhead thinks back training just about is. I think he's slightly ahead of Hurst. Did I see that, Joe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the similar time they are.
Yeah, Clark's obviously only just got back running and stuff, so he's obviously further away. I mean, Luongo, we spoke about right at the start. Well, I don't think we'd have been totally surprised if he'd have started yesterday. But yeah, he's going to certainly be in and around the squad. But yeah, they're going to be squad players for the foreseeable, aren't they? And valuable as well.
Yeah, I think with Luongo, I think he got that extra year, didn't he? But we know it was effectively just he's here just seeing the transition through to Phillips and Kariusta. I know they're both on loan, but
yeah,
and that's fine. And he's done a brilliant job, and he'll get some Premier League minutes because of that, and has done so. I guess the only thing is with Harry Clark, it's a difficult one for him. He's only 23 years old, so he's still got a big future ahead of him. But with Axel Tuanzebe playing as he is, he looks really what we need at that right back role at the moment. And we've signed Ben Johnson, giving him a 4-year contract. So it does make it a bit awkward for Harry there. So we'll see what the future holds for him. But I think we'd all love to see an Ipswich boy in there.
A difficult time for sentimental people, Joe, like me. Chris Rand is not sentimental. He's the stats guy. No, that sounded really mean on Chris, didn't he? Chris is not emotionally led. He's stats led. Have I dug myself out of that hole, Chris? There you go. Given the fixtures so far, should all the other teams on 0 or 1 point, so that is Everton, Saints, Wolves, Palace and Leicester, be more concerned than we are? Certainly Everton, Wolves and Palace should be, Joe, shouldn't they?
Yeah, well, we've certainly had the hardest start to the season. We've had 2 of your 5 hardest games of the season we've already got out of the way, effectively. Yep. So, and they're games that nearly every team down the bottom will get 0 points from. So we're almost on par for what you'd expect. Maybe there, where the others are definitely lost games that they should have won, like Southampton. You look, they've lost to Newcastle when they had sort of 10 men for 60 odd minutes, lost to Brentford today, lost to Nottingham Forest last week. Well, they're games you need to be picking up some points from if you want to be getting up to 35. They look like they're not going to be getting to 25 at the moment, let alone 35.
Slightly irritating, Dave, though. I'm looking up and seeing Forest with 5 already and Brentford with 6, like I've mentioned. We could do with those 2 being a bit closer, couldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, as Joe said, you've got to put it in context who they've faced so far, though. I mean, I don't particularly think they've faced anyone that's going to be... certainly. I don't think perhaps Forest, maybe not anyone. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone in the top 10, maybe, but perhaps I don't know.
Joe, Dave, you can take this one. Do you think it's more likely Morsey will be substituted in midfield instead of Phillips once he's built up his match sharpness? He's shaking his head, Joe.
I wouldn't say so. I think
no way.
Generally they'll both stay on it if that's how it is. You're not going to be, if they're playing as they were yesterday and fully fit, you're just not going to break that up because they just totally had the midfield sort of on lockdown, really, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, don't say that word. It gives me PTSD. Joseph Fez. So let me just get these order of these next fixtures right. So look, I knew we'd get asked this. So David, I'll start with you. From David, funnily enough. How will we go in our next 3 games? So Brighton looks really hard, doesn't it? Because they've started so well. Southampton, I might have my fingers crossed under the desk right now for a 3-pointer. And look, I know Aston Villa are way, way better than us and have a brilliant manager as well as the guy who gave us that England moment in the summer. But Gary Neville keeps saying on Sky, teams who are in the Champions League for the first year don't tend to acclimatise. Can you get 3 or 4 points out of those 3 games?
I was thinking,
can you justify that?
Yeah, of course. I think we can squeeze 4 out of those. You'd think there's more than a good chance for Brighton are flying, so kind of put that to one side. But they're not a Man City, and they're not certainly not a Man City away. They're not a Liverpool. Look, Southampton away. Yes, look, there's got to be a good chance for, again, not counting any proverbial chickens.
They owe us one, Dave.
Yeah, but you'd think there's a good chance for 3 points there. And Villa, I think that's a Sunday game coming off the back. Is it Bayern Munich? They play
something like some giant, isn't it? Yeah,
someone tell us a repeat of the 1982 European Cup finals. Anyway, I think so. We've all seen how teams react after Europe. So yeah, maybe a point here. So
Dave, sorry, I've got that. Dave, I'm so sorry, I've got it wrong. They played Bayern Munich after.
I'm sorry, after.
That's my bad. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, after. Okay, fine. Well, they're still playing Bayern, so obviously still have one eye on that. No, I think no. 4 points. We'd take 4 points now from those 3 games, wouldn't we? That'd be a brilliant return.
That'd be nice, Joe, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and there'll be more pressure on Southampton to beat us than on us to beat them, which should help us because they could quite easily, quite probably still be on 0 points when they play us, and they'll be at home. So there'll be a lot of pressure from their crowd to come out and play and try and get the win against us. So hopefully that will play into our hands.
Yeah.
I think we've answered Andrew's question there as well. I'm going to ban Suffolk Punch's question there. We're not doing any Kieran McKenna manager links for at least another year. I've got PTSD from that.
Just get Ten Hag gone quicker. The sooner the better on that one, because then if he goes soon, then there's a lot less chance.
Joe, you've been pretty good answering this question over the years, haven't you? What system are we playing with now? It's still the same thing, isn't it? It all depends on where the guy playing on the right is in relation to Leif Davis, and it varies a lot during the game. But go on, explain it.
Generally, shape-wise, we're still 4-2-3-1, really. It's 4 at the back, Tuanzebe, Wolfenden, Greaves and Davis, 2 sitting in front of them, Morsey and Phillips, as it was yesterday, and the other guys form a front 4, but at times that rotates round. So Ogbene will drop back into a right wing-back role. When the other team string 5 across the front, he'll drop back into a right-back role. But we just play how we need to play against the players we're up against. But Leif Davis and Ogbene are the key players there, and Ogbene is a right winger and Leif Davis is a left back. He's still starting deep to go forward, where Ogbene's starting high to come back.
Okay, ITFC women rescued a point from 2-0 down at Exeter. God, that's a rubbish journey down to Exeter, isn't it? God. Summer signing Ella Rutherford made her comeback from injury after a year out and scored both the goals. Whose celebration was she nicking, did I see on? Was that Cole Palmer?
Yeah,
Cole Palmer won there. That's the Ella Rutherford as far as we're concerned. Town face Lewis next weekend at Felixstowe. And we are going to be continuing our sponsorship of Lucy O'Brien. So if you want to get involved in that, it's kind of Friends of Blue Monday thing. We like to sponsor Lucy O'Brien and talk to us in the Telegram, and we can sort of set you up if you want to kind of show your support for the Ipswich Town women's team. Right, let's try and... So thank you for your questions, everybody in the chat. They're brilliant as ever. You are the lifeblood of this podcast. If you do listen on audio, we do love you. But every Sunday, 8 p.m, get involved in the questions. The great Joe Fairs or the equally great and not better David Diamond may answer your question live on air. I was just being fair to both of you, David, sitting on the fence as I'm famed for on the internet. Dave, how do you bracket these first 3 games? Liverpool could have got away from us, so could have been worse. And 2-0 at home is 2-0 at home. Man City, we got battered. It is what it is. And we have a point in a game that we could have lost, but maybe more could have won against Fulham. And there's lots of mitigating things. It's all right, isn't it? But it needs building on, right?
It does. It's encouraging. It's encouraging, isn't it? Look, let's face it. Man City, they are going to give someone a pasting at home this season, aren't they? Someone is going to go for 6, 7, or 8. I'm convinced. Again, I mean, they've done it season on season probably. So to get that one out of the way with after how the narrative of the game, after with a relatively credible result, I think is pretty decent. And I just say, just general encouragement. I think we built on that. First half or first 50, 55 minutes against Liverpool, where we were well in the game before it got away with us. They had to tweak it before that got away with us. So, and yesterday, like I said, morale boosting, very, very encouraging. So, and for these players and some of these younger players that we've signed as well, to Lap, Greaves, etc. Just seeing them make the step up is just superb. Yeah, I think, encouraging so far, I would say.
How do you sum up the first 3 games back, Joe?
Yeah, I think every game's had positives come out of it, and I think every game has seen progress from the last one on it. And we need that because we need to. Firstly, we need to keep improving, but we also need to keep the crowd as good as they are at the moment. Because I thought the atmosphere yesterday at Portman Road was excellent again, as it was against Liverpool, and it's a lot easier to be up for Liverpool, your first home game in 22 years, 12:30 TV cameras. A big game.
Joe, how do we keep that up through the winter?
Well, we kept it up all through last winter, didn't we? And I think we just need to keep playing well, keep doing the right things. We play a lovely style of football to watch. It's exciting. It's quality. It's good technically. And we just got to keep doing that. But I was listening to something on another podcast the other week, and they were saying effectively a team like Crystal Palace, they were saying that the Saturday 3 p.m. games, they're the ones that keep you in this league. Making good progress in those ones. The games where no one's watching, you're just playing those games. You're not on the TV. You're second to last from match of the day. But that's where you need to accumulate your points to stay up. It's not the big Sunday games and the Saturday night games. They're just for sort of show. You just need to keep doing your thing at 3:00 on a Saturday, which we have done consistently for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Speaking of consistently for the last 2 seasons, consistently for the last 10 seasons, Blue Monday banging out the content. And as Rich said in the chat there, Joe's done about 3 hours in the last 3 days with the deadline day stuff. So we may be slightly quieter over the international break. We think we've really gone for it over the first few weeks of the season. We've really, really enjoyed it, and we've really, really appreciated all the support. With that being said, we are hoping to talk to the author of the new George Burley book at some point. And obviously Craig's interview with the probably what we always call, Dave, the kind of #1 Hall of Famer in Ipswich Town history, really, to do it as a player and as a manager. So that would be a great
Sorry, that for my interest. Who did write the George Burley book?
You stitched me up there. I've got absolutely.
Sorry,
it says
mate.
in my notes here. It says the author
stitched you right up
of the new. Oh, mate, I don't care.
Come on, Joe. Who is it?
I listened to him the other day, but on an interview there. But I'm just looking up here.
Yeah, there you go. Joe's.
It's the guy who did the 81 book.
Oh, right.
This is terrible podcasting.
This is terrible podcasting. So I'm going to talk. It's Dave's fault for asking the question.
I've thrown you right under the bus, haven't I?
Sold me down the river, but there you go.
Okay, all the
Neil Prentice.
Yeah, about time. Dave's got his own back. About time. Absolutely.
There you go.
Right.
Neil Prentice, Dave. But hopefully we'll speak to him. So there'll be something, and there'll definitely be a flagship show next weekend, and then we'll be back into the sort of preview stuff and the Premier League predictions for the Brighton game as well. So thank you, everybody, join in. You can have 10 seconds each as we're coming up the hour. Last word from you, DD?
Stop the season now.
Joe, last word from you, mate.
keep it going. We're enjoying it.
There you go. And we'll see you very, very soon for Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Over and out.